Hello and welcome to the Unfazed Review Podcast. I'm Ben.
I'm Emmett.
And today we have some very, very, very exciting news for you guys. It's something we've been kind of dipping our toes in before, but now it's like official on the Patreon.
That's absolutely right, Benjamin. Yeah, we've done it.
Hey, man.
Off to you for the weather.
Hey, man.
Yes, we've started our Patreon exclusive podcast.
Unfazed After Hours.
A lot of fun. If you want to join the club, you gotta sign up.
You got to pony up.
You gotta pony up.
It's very exciting though
Man
because,
up.
you know, it's starting as a shorter podcast right now because at this time we only have a few patrons. But the more patrons we get, the longer the podcast will become.
That's the way it works.
And the more exclusive content we'll put on there. So if you want to join in, if you want to be a true, deeper, more active part of the Unfazed crew, consider becoming a patron if you can. You don't have to give a ton. If you want to just join for $1 or $2, feel free. We have some people who give more. Definitely, whatever you can spare, it helps fuel Unfazed future endeavors, helps pay for gear, for batteries, for travel vlogs, for gas on our vehicles, and it helps the channel grow. So definitely consider, and you'd be able to get in on a sweet new podcast too.
That's so true, yeah. Yeah, we definitely want to get more of a base in terms of honestly just funding for things we can do.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and we've both been feeling lately, we were talking earlier about how we're almost a little, honestly, sort of spiteful and jealous of other YouTube channels and YouTubers in general.
Mm-hmm.
My point was, I was talking to Emily last night, and we were talking about a handful of YouTubers who really did some pretty immoral, shitty things in order to garnish an audience.
Yep.
And now they just sit atop, millions of subscribers, and they've all come out and apologized, but for 90% of them, there's those awful videos that they put up are still there.
Yeah.
You can tell they don't really give a shit, and they kind of say sorry just because they have to at this point. But and it's just it definitely makes me jealous.
Yeah.
I've always tried to be very true and honest and genuine with our content, and it's nice when sometimes people do notice that. They're like, wow, we get comments here and there saying you guys are the most genuine people on YouTube. This is awesome, which is really really cool.
And we, once in a while on podcasts, we'll talk shit. That's part of the shtick.
Yeah, of course.
But we're not, bringing down other smaller YouTube channels and humiliating them to try to get ahead.
Yeah.
It's like it's more of just a comedic talking shit thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
These YouTubers would pinpoint specific people who were like under them and just make a whole video about like look how fucking stupid this guy is. And,
Paul Nathanson.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it's just in bad faith, and then it's shitty. It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. It
doesn't feel.
It's a negative. Yeah. It's a negative thing, and it's not authentic. But on the other hand, that authenticity seems to be what kills a lot of YouTube channels, and I feel like that. That fakeness and that negative energy and grasping at that low-hanging fruit, unfortunately, pumps a lot of people up.
Yeah, I want to find a happy balance. It's like there's a few channels, not to interrupt you, but to piggyback, to leapfrog, polywog, give a dog a bone. I think of like Franco TV, right? He is one of the most, in my opinion, most authentic paranormal investigators. And the reason I think Franco is real is I don't see any really crazy, off-the-charts paranormal activity. Lots of things moving around constantly. It's like his is very few and far between. He'll catch something like, once every few months. And when he does catch something, it's pretty cool and it's pretty substantial. But other times it's just him just exploring, and I appreciate that. It's like he's not like, oh, I'm going to try to find something every single time. It's like sometimes it's just him roaming around, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I like him.
You can tell it's real, though.
Yeah, he's kind of funny. It's authentic. He goes to neat places. He goes to some very dangerous situations sometimes by himself. Where I'm like, dude, you got to be careful. He spent like 3 months in South America alone, and just like going around to like old cemeteries and shit in like Brazil and Colombia and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this dude, he totally deserves everything he has. All his patrons, like the dude like sleeps in his car half the time. Like he's like really going out and getting it. So someone like that, I'm like, I'm on your side, 100%.
Yeah.
But there's other people, like I was talking about this one camping YouTuber I watch, and I like him. I subscribe to him. I think he's great. I'm not knocking him for making camping content. It's fun to watch. But I was looking at it, and the dude has like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of patrons, and like clearly doesn't have to work anymore. Just his job is making YouTube videos, and I admire that, and I would like us to get to that level someday too, where it's like we could get you guys more content and not, have to divide our time between a job and this. I know some people say, oh, well, that's life. Not for a lot of those YouTubers.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool, and we could bring you guys some really badass stuff, even if we could, dedicate half as much time to the channel.
Yeah.
And I just look at it. I look at where I want to be in the next 10 years, and I think it's attainable if we just get more patrons and really just keep pumping out quality content.
Yeah, we could do so much more if for every trip we had, I didn't have to think for a second. Ooh, I hope I can swing this financially.
Same.
If that were not an issue, then you'd be seeing so much more.
Yeah.
And I think everyone says jealousy is not a good trait.
Unbecoming.
Yeah, unbecoming trait or whatever.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's completely warranted a lot of the time because if if straight up you're like, I see this guy who's putting out shit content and he has a lot of subscribers and we're putting out stuff that I feel to be quality that's just simply not fair, and you feel jealous, and I think that's totally.
And I see some people who are putting out okay content, and even still, it's like they don't have to worry about a day job anymore. They've got hundreds and hundreds of patrons, and they're putting out content not that frequently still.
Right. Yeah.
It's good content, but it's very infrequent.
Yeah.
I'm kind of damn, if we had half as many patrons, I'd be putting out top shelf content twice as fast.
Yeah.
And we'd be going all over. You'd be getting stuff on Unfazed Fridays. You'd be getting more podcasts, more interviews, more travel vlogs.
Yeah.
But hey, all I'm saying is it's a little bit of a sales pitch, but if you guys would like to be a really big help to the channel, definitely at least consider becoming a patron.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we do have value to offer with that Sweeten podcast, and also some more behind-the-scenes looks. Like I said, as the Patreon grows, you'll get more and more exclusive videos on there, too.
Yeah. You know what is a big thing that a lot of famous YouTubers do, or well-known YouTubers do? They start beef with other YouTubers. There's always inter-YouTube drama.
Yeah.
H3 hates Keemstar. He's always you know what Keemstar is?
No.
He's like the drama center guy. He's always pitting different YouTubers. It's so stupid, but
hey, Epic Film guys, we got a problem with you.
Yeah, I think we should start our own beef to try and get some viewers.
Hey,
managerial conclusions. What's going on with you, man?
Dude,
what's the deal, dude?
Come on, man. Hey, Joe Blow Network. What the fuck, man?
Hey, Caboose. What's up with your vlogs lately?
There's one more. There's one more I want to shout out.
What the heck, dude?
I think it's Palm of the Face's channel. He has one. It's like a climbing one, I think, right?
Palm of the Face. What the heck, man?
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
put your channel in the comments below.
Drop them below, and we'll start some beef with you.
Yeah.
To try and garnish.
Maybe I fucked up on whose channel that is. Sorry.
Okay, well we'll see. We'll see.
I know one of our boys has got a channel he's working on.
That's cool. Maybe it's Bert.
It could be Bert. I love Bert. Bert's a good man.
He's a good man.
But anyway, it's tough to not compare yourself to others. And I know people say, "Well, don't do that. You guys are doing fine." Yeah, I know we're doing fine, but I don't think
should be doing better.
I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to grow.
Yeah.
It's I think it would be really depressing if we were at the same level a year from now.
Yeah. I was just telling you the other day, I was texting you. One morning I got up and I forget exactly why, but I was going through our old skits. And it's so hard to, whenever you create something, it's really, really, really hard to view it through the lens of the viewer.
Yeah.
Really
Unless a lot of time passes.
Yeah, nigh on impossible unless time passes. And I was looking the other day, and enough time had passed with a lot of those skits that I had forgotten so much, and I was in tears laughing at some of them, which I hadn't been before with some of these skits, and they just cracked me up so much.
They're funny.
And so then I texted you, I was like, man, we gotta do more skits. These are so funny. And then you look at the views, and it's 400, 600, and it's
frustrating.
What the fuck?
It's very discouraging. There's been a lot of times, honestly, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna quit. There's been a few times where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
And I'll think about it, but then I'll be like, I'll go a few days, and I'm like, nah, man. I love our fan base, and I really do enjoy making videos. So it's one of those where I'm like, nah. It's it's discouraging, but I truly am passionate about this, so I'm gonna keep making stuff.
Yeah.
And it would just be nice if it would get some more eyes on it, and the people who do enjoy it, if other people could get that same sense of oh, I vibe with this. I like this. This is cool. This is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way these guys think.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Definitely working on it. But if you guys, want to share with your friends, share with any buddies or family who might also be unfazed or be in need of becoming unfazed, share some of our stuff, even if it's something that's a little offshoot. Because we've got a lot of variety on the channel. Share a Dead Mall video, share a food vlog, share something kind of random.
Share a skit.
Share a skit. Yeah, put it out there. But it would be nice to see some growth for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, one other thing we're working on is table reads. I was talking about how Conan O'Brien, Kevin Nealon, and Dana Carvey all wrote a script together for the Hans and Franz movie, which was like Arnold Schwarzenegger's cousins, this Saturday Night Live skit they did in the late 80s and early 90s. Anyway, they turned it into a movie. They all wrote it together. It was around the time Conan was still writing for The Simpsons, and with Kevin Nealon and Dana Carvey. And they actually like met with Arnold a few times and was like, hey, Arnold, you're going to be a big part of this script. Like, let's make it happen. And it came really close to becoming a reality. But around 93, I think, the last action hero movie with Schwarzenegger was not a very big success. And Arnold was like, hey, I'm going to ease off of comedy for a while. So the movie never got made. But what they did for Team Coco for the podcast was they got all the guys together and they did a table read of the full feature-length script. They did it in like 4 parts, and it was freaking hilarious.
That was cool. As
you guys may or may not know, Emma and I have written, I think, 3 feature-length films together.
Yep.
And obviously one day we'd love to get them produced, whether independently or with the help of a studio. And I think a good starting point for that would be to get our fan base on board with it and get you familiar with the scripts. And I was thinking, like, we could even get warmed up, with one of ours, but eventually it'd be cool to do, like, other ones that were never made, like Superman Lives, the movie, and, like, maybe, like, some different variations of, like, unmade scripts that were, like, pretty big Hollywood scripts.
Yeah.
I was thinking we could kind of do both, but it would be cool to start with our own stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you guys like to see that? Let me know.
I would like to see that. I would like to do it.
Yeah, I think it would be a blast. Because, dude, our scripts are funny as fuck.
They're really funny. Yeah. 3 guys.
We could kind of give you a little taste. So the first one we ever did together was 3 guys having a good time. All of our scripts, kind of unintentionally, all the scripts sound like weird pornos. 3 guys having a good time is actually very wholesome and very fun. Think a mixture of like the Benchwarmers mixed with like Ed, Edd n Eddy, but like with real humans. Yeah. And maybe a little bit of like, what would you say? Kind of like a little bit of Dumb and Dumber sort of.
Yeah. I was going to say Step Brothers just because of the premise.
A little bit of Step Brothers, yes. But I'm super proud of that script. I remember writing it, laughing, probably the hardest I ever laughed in my life.
Yeah.
Like there were points, I remember we started writing in Starbucks, and most of it was written in a Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I remember like laughing so hard, like I couldn't breathe. I was like gasping for air, like cracking up. Like it was like some of the most fun I've ever had writing anything in my life.
And that was the first time, that was really early on in our friendship, and that was the first time we jived creatively. So I think that was part of what made it so good.
It was, yeah. That was like, we started writing together pretty quick. Like I think we wrote that, we became friends in 2013, I think?
Either 13 or 14.
Something like that, and I think we started writing it in 2014. So it was like pretty rapid, but dude, one of the funniest fucking scripts I've ever read. So I think that would be a cool one to kick it off with. Also, one that might be a little more digestible too is American Spunk, which is our second one we wrote, and it was written specifically with the idea of us producing it independently, which we still might do if it gets enough interest. We wrote it with the idea of it being low budget. Like we made everything very doable, very local, very small time, small cast, very bare bones, and when it started, it was kind of interesting because like we had an independent producer who was interested in
Producer Rick.
Yeah. He was interested in producing it, and I'd never had anything like that happen before. Where he was like, "Hey, I'm willing to throw some money at you guys to make this happen," and we weren't like totally sold on the idea. We like just pitched it last minute with him, and he's like, "I like that. Do that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we started writing this. We weren't really enthused about it the first like week or two. And then it started really getting our personality in it, and we fell in love with it. Yeah. And it became funny as fuck. It's like, I'm not saying that like lightly, like it's super funny.
Yeah, I think it was
so that might even be a good one to kick off with. Who knows?
Yeah, that seems like
it's a really fun
3 guys is so like surreal sometimes.
We would need more people too.
Yeah.
3 guys I'd like to have like maybe like Max and like Natanya and some other people.
American Spunk, we could get away with it just being
for sure. I think that'd be a lot of fun. We could probably release that on the Patreon first and then share it with you guys afterwards. But, and then the third script we wrote together was called Studio Cat.
That's right.
And I came up with that idea from going to Warner Brothers Studios back in, I was 23 years old. So 7 years ago, I went to LA with the intent of possibly moving there. I worked on a couple indie sets. I tried to network. I partied a lot, had a good time. But obviously I did not end up moving to California at that point. But I knew a friend out there, a family friend, who he was a cinematographer on some stuff, and we were just met up for some food and we're hanging out, and it was literally right across the street from Warner Brothers. I'm like, dude, I'd love to check out Warner Brothers. He's like, oh man, what, you want to be a tourist and go check it out? And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And he's like, all right, So we like went together, even though he literally like worked on that set.
Oh yeah.
So he was like jaded, but he ended up having fun, and we like did the tram tour and went around and like got to see in the buildings. And
that's cool.
At that time, it was cool because they had a whole sound stage that had all the Batmobiles.
That's it.
So you got to see Michael Keaton's Batmobile, Val Kilmer's, Clooney's. You got to see Christian Bale's. You got to see Ben Affleck's when it was new. It was sick. Like it was really really cool. And where was I going with talking about Warner Brothers? The idea for studio.
Yeah.
So anyway, one of the sound stages there, they were walking around, and they said that they used to have a real bad rat problem and like rodent problem there. So I believe it was Clark Gable started bringing stray cats in that he'd find like in his neighborhood or wherever they were staying, and like let them loose on the Warner Brothers lot. And all these cats started getting loose and helping with the rodents, and then they started breeding and multiplying. And to this day, there are still cats that roam around the studio. They're cool. Descendants of these cats that Clark Gable brought in.
That's badass.
And I thought, man, it'd be fun and like so wholesome. And also, Warner Brothers has a whole animation department. It would be so cool to do a studio cat cartoon or animated film where it focuses on a cat who goes to Hollywood to be famous. And it's like the life of a cat living in the studio.
Yeah. And so he goes to be one of the cats to get rid of their pest problem, but then he wants to be an actor, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And basically, I haven't even thought of the script in a long time. I'm like forgetting what it's about. But he goes and he gets kidnapped by one of these characters, John, lets him loose onto the property, and he ends up inadvertently crashing a scene. And they're like, "That cat's hilarious." And it's like it becomes like a Roger Rabbit thing where it's like the cats have more human attributes, and he becomes famous.
But they don't talk to the humans. They're still just cats. They don't. Obviously, the cats talk to each other.
They don't talk to humans. Right. But it's funny, and we wrote like literally a wholesome like PG like family friendly comedy.
We really did. Yeah. That was still really funny though.
Yeah, it was super funny, and that one came together really quick and kind of weirdly. Like I don't remember much of it.
Yeah,
like we wrote it really fast.
Yeah,
I think we had it written in like 2 months.
Yeah,
and it just like came together like really organic.
It did. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Yeah, for some reason, it felt like three guys. It's not like we were stumped, but it feels like three guys was like this big epic that took a long time.
It was, yeah. It was also the first script we'd ever written.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I'd written one before in my because I took screenwriting classes like in school. Like I knew how to do it. But I wrote one that was like pretty short, and it was like your typical like murder detective cliche. Super cliche like film student script, and it was all right. It was about. I'll tell you about it because I don't know if anything will ever come of it. I went and saw Body Worlds, that thing where all the cadavers are like posed.
That was weird. Yeah, that was a weird thing.
It's sickening. I had to leave it. It grossed me out. But I thought, man, what if like there was some crazy scientist who just like murdered people and put them on display like that? And that was the story, focusing on this crazy killer who would like murder people and then put them on display as like an art exhibit.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then a detective like getting savvy to him and the whole thing going on. And it was, a little cliche, but it was the first thing I ever wrote. And actually, that's a lie. That was the second script I ever wrote. The first script I ever wrote was called Company Ladder, and it was about a homeless guy, Andy Darnkey, who he's a really clever homeless guy, and he sleeps in stores and stuff, and like hides out after closing time, so he like doesn't have to really live on the streets. Anyway, he ends up doing this at this big business, and people end up thinking that he works there. And anyway, craziness ensues. But that was the first script I ever wrote. And cool. So I had 2 under my belt before you and I wrote together. And I already had a novel done at that time.
Yeah, I've written some books in high school and stuff.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So we both had our own sets of experiences, but coming together, I feel like I didn't really become a really good writer until we started collaborating and until after Three Guys came out. Because then I feel like I'm like, oh, I really know how to structure a script.
It's true, yeah.
Like I knew how to do it in the class, but I was also following like scene cards and really doing it the traditional way that the teacher wanted us to do. But with us, it's like we really developed our own pattern and our own structure, and like I've done that ever since.
That's so true. Yeah. What's a shame is that so much of our collabs like that don't see the light of day. But one thing that we did do in like one night was Polybius.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote that together. Like I think it literally like a single night.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
But hey, we can start getting these to see the light of day, through you guys.
Yeah.
And if you like them, at least with American Spunk, I do think that's something we could realistically produce.
Yes. Yeah.
For sure. It wouldn't take that much either. Like we could probably do it for, I don't know, a few $1,000s.
And to be honest, I don't think I told you because I didn't do anything with it. But Rick texted me a while back and he wanted to like see stuff that we'd done.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll have to reach out to him again. Yeah.
That'd be great.
He's still interested.
You could tell Rick to do? Be like, hey, you know what? Become a patron.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. Yeah.
He could be a big benefactor.
But I can show him Polybius. I can show him Oblivion too. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it in real life?
Yeah,
it'd be good. But anyway, so long story short, table reads coming your way, and consider becoming a patron because we got a lot of shit on the back burner.
We really do. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about the big news today? Flash.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Let me preface this with like my whole weekend, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I was gonna watch Spider-Verse on Father's Day, Sunday, with my father for Father's Day, and because everyone had said it was so good.
Sure. As they do.
Yeah. Also, side point, because I feel like I say it every podcast now. It's going to become a running joke from this podcast forward. You know, I say I got off Twitter, and then we'll get back on. Yeah. And then just last night, I got off Twitter again. So
there you go.
Congratulations to me, I got off Twitter.
On again, off
yeah.
Relationship.
But so yeah, on Twitter, everyone was saying like, "Holy shit, Spider-Verse is the holy grail of animation." Yeah. Literally, like there were, I think it was like Forbes or something. Excuse me, getting pissed off thinking about Spider-Verse.
You're getting gassy. He's getting gassy.
Whoop. Forbes or some shit, some big list put it as like the second best animated film ever. And that.
I don't know, man. Toy Story is pretty good.
The first one was Spirited Away, which honestly, like, I wasn't mad about. This is incredible. But to put Spider-Verse 2 second, like, that's insulting.
Seems too soon.
Yeah. It's reactionary, right?
Yeah.
Well, and so I believed it. And everyone thinks we're contrarians or whatever. And I guess
sometimes,
in a way, we are. But like, I don't want to be. I can't.
I'm a bit of a contrarian.
I can't pretend to go with the wave. Sure. I guess my point is, like, I really believed it. I was like, oh, I enjoyed the first Spider-Verse. I know you didn't even really see it.
I didn't watch it.
But I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was the greatest fucking thing in the world, but I thought, like, it was kind of stylized to look like a comic book in a cool, tasteful way.
If Tobey Maguire didn't lend his voice, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I thought the first one was a lot of fun.
I'll watch it.
The first one was cool.
I'll watch it.
And so I was like, oh, maybe the second one is really, really fucking good. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I bought tickets to watch it with my dad on Sunday, but Emily really wanted to see it. And we had talked about seeing it before, and she was kind of bummed out that I was going to see it with my dad. So I was like, all right, I don't mind seeing it twice. It's probably going to be really good, right?
She didn't come with your dad?
Nah, it was just Father's Day.
No.
But so I was like, all right, let's see it on, I think it was Friday night we saw it.
Okay.
And so it wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't the fucking second best animated movie ever. Okay. And I think it was actually significantly worse.
It was no Batman Sub-Zero.
That's right.
It was Batman Sub-Zero?
It was it was no Batman Sub-Zero. It was no Iron Giant. It was no fucking Bambi. It was no Lion King.
Like how Bambi's mixed in
there.
Yeah,
it was no fucking Iron Giant. No fucking Bambi. I'm trying to think of like great animated things.
Yeah.
It's insulting.
Aladdin.
Yeah. No Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Yeah, it was definitely a tier down from the first one, I thought. The only things I have to say about it are that they went really overboard with the stylization.
Yeah.
The way things were colored, the shots, how quick the shots were.
It looked pretty.
Yeah, it was cool.
From what I've seen from the trailer.
The way the movie felt to me was that it was like geared towards 12-year-old kids with ADHD.
Yeah.
It was like really like tons of colors. The shots were so fast and sometimes it got like overboard with the weird stylization. There was a scene. There was one scene in particular, but like the whole movie was kind of like this. Towards the beginning, Spider-Gwen was sad about something.
Okay.
And she was like literally blue.
Ooh.
Like this made her whole body like a blue haze because she was supposed to be sad. It was so silly. And then there was another scene where she's talking with her dad, and the whole room around it was like changing colors and like melting, but it's just like an effect. Like it's not really supposed to be happening. It's just like this trippy, surreal thing. And then
it's like enhancing their mood.
Yeah, right. And then as the conversation went on, the whole like room just went away, and there was like these weird shapes floating, and it was bizarre. And then obviously the whole thing is Miles Morales goes into this sort of Spider-Verse headquarters where there's all these different Spider-Men.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Spider-Men were stupid. There was like a dinosaur Spider-Man and like all this thing. It was like way overboard and fucking ridiculous. And I didn't think the writing was that particularly good. And everyone said it had great writing and amazing characters, and all the characters were like one-note guys. There was a really annoying Spider-Man who had like Liberty spikes, and he was supposed to be like a punk rocker. And his whole thing was that he's like anti-establishment, anti-capitalism, and that was like this whole fucking character. And everyone's like, he's so cool.
Batman's a fascist.
Yeah. Oh god, the fucking almost a Blue Beetle. Yeah.
We'll get to that.
But anyway, yeah, I thought like stylistically they went a little too overboard. The plot was also bizarre. So there was a lot of like backstory. Almost the first hour of the film was like sort of setting up the actual point and theme and plot of the film. It wasn't until an hour in that you really get the purpose of the film, which is, Miles Morales joins this thing, and he finds out that, so there's sort of this, like, catalyst event needed for every Spider-Man to take off.
Mm-hmm. And Miles Morales becomes the spokesperson for Bud Light.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so for a lot of them, like, Uncle Ben needs to die in order for Peter Parker to become Spider-Man. And for him, like, his dad's a cop, and his dad needs to die and get shot in order for his universe to stay correct or something. I don't know. So the whole thing is like he wants to go back and fix it, but the other Spider-Man... Right, well, yeah, whatever the fuck. So, and the other Spider-Man like, no, you can't do that. It's like part of the prophecy, essentially. Like, he has to die for you to be Spider-Man. And he's like, no, I want to fix it. But so, like, you don't even get to see that happen. They try to do this, like, cliffhanger ending, but it did not feel like a cliffhanger. It felt like they forgot to animate or just write the last 15 minutes of the film. It was really bizarre. When I was watching it with Emily, and it ends like smacked, like right when you think like it's about to be like a last fight and some sort of resolution, it just fucking ends. And I literally, like, Emily and I looked at each other and we were just like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah, it was like they gypped us. They cut off the end of the movie, and it was supposed to be this great cliffhanger, and it felt so awkward and bizarre. And it was not. It was not fucking the second best animated film in the world. And then on the flip side of that, everyone said The Flash was going to be a total piece of shit, right? Like, worst superhero movie ever. And you know how Ben and I feel about superhero movies.
We're very particular.
Yeah, we're usually they're pretty bad.
We're like, probably, I would say, out of everyone I know, like, we're the toughest critics.
Yeah. I can count on, like, one hand the number of superhero movies I really like in the last 10 years.
100%.
Yeah, and so it's like, I was expecting it to be shit.
Let me hear on one hand the ones you liked in the last 10 years.
For some reason I enjoyed Captain America Civil War.
Cool, never saw that.
They actually, like, Captain America and Iron Man really, like, go to town at the end and beat the shit out of each other. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
I did like the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
It's
tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Honestly, it really is tough. I guess I'll say I enjoyed Endgame.
Okay.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come to Austria, and I told him, I said, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to become an actor. I was in the Terminator franchise, Conan the Barbarian, and then I became the governor of California.
Oh my god. The first Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman I liked a lot. I thought that was good.
Cool.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
The third Guardians was cool. Okay. I'll throw that in there.
It was emotional.
Yeah, it was good. That was 5. Yeah, it was emotional. I
would say Batman, 2020, Pattinson.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I would say Logan was pretty good, although the ending was cheesy, but the build-up was good. Spider-Man No Way Home. I know you
right, yeah.
But I would say it was the most enjoyable for Marvel. Shit, I don't know. Iron Man 3, was that within the last 10 years?
Yeah. All the Iron Mans I enjoyed. The Iron Man trilogy.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably one more I'm forgetting. Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. But like the first,
I don't know,
Captain America, any of the Thor standalone movies.
Yeah. I'll say Flash for my fifth one.
Yeah, like most of that shit, I didn't care to see. I didn't want to see.
Yeah.
And so this one, I just know I didn't want to see Spider-Verse again. I was like, I don't want to sit through that. I'm pretty sure my dad is not going to like it.
Sure.
So I was like, let's see Flash. And lo and behold, I didn't know. My dad started telling me about how, I told you earlier, he like begged his parents to get him a Flash costume when he was a kid.
That's
and he
sweet.
would put it on and run around the neighborhood.
That's
and he really loved the Flash. I was like, oh, great. And so we went in, and I felt guilty even going in, though, because I was like, this could be a piece of shit movie for Father's Day. And then we all ended up really enjoying ourselves. And so, then that whole weekend, Twitter and the whole internet in general really was like gearing me up to, love Spider-Verse and really hate Flash.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there were, I think I am a little biased now just because I was geared to think one way and I disagreed. So now I'm being contrarian and I want to go against the grain.
I like to be contrarian.
Yeah, I will say that I want to put Flash at least slightly above Spider-Verse, which for most people is like, fucking, you can't say that. They're being so combative online about how the Spider-Verse is like this golden pinnacle of film and you can't touch it, and how the Flash is horrible, and if you say anything good about it, you're like this piece of shit. It's really intense. But I couldn't disagree more. I enjoyed Flash. And again, there's the three things that people took issue with. I fucking wrote them down because I don't want to talk about this. And people are so dumb. It was the bad CGI. Which, I don't know, people are so fucking weird with CGI. Either they're complaining there's too much CGI or the CGI is too bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm very picky with CGI.
Yeah, I can be. If there's too much of it, then, The Flash certainly suffered from some bad CGI.
This one had it was like awful, but I forgave it.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. And and sometimes when it's bad, it's supposed to be like comedy, so I don't really mind if it's that bad, if it's supposed to be funny anyway.
Yeah. This was like CGI from like the year 2000.
Yeah.
But once you get past that, like, a lot of fun.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I can look at it and like, oh, that looks shitty, but then you move on. And in general, like, the film is still fine. Yes, there was bad CGI, but honestly, like, when I will say that in general, The Flash entertained me way more than The Spider-Verse did. Even if I was laughing at The Flash for the shitty CGI, I was still laughing.
Yeah.
There was nothing funny or nothing emotive about Spider-Verse for me. I just literally just stared and fucking watched it.
Yeah.
And I was bored out of my mind, to be honest. But yeah, the bad CGI, people love for some reason to be like, look, the CGI was horrendous. The whole film was ruined. It's like, can you just
where were those douchebags with Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah, what the fuck?
That movie got so much praise, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Sam Raimi fan. That movie was an abomination.
Yeah,
it was disgusting.
Yeah.
Okay, unpopular opinion: Flash beat the shit out of Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I would say anything. I would say an infomercial beat the shit out of Multiverse of Madness. But let me say Flash. I went in because Emmett invited me. Emmett liked it so much he wanted to see it a second time.
I mean, I literally called you coming out of the first viewing. I was like, you got to see this movie.
And I was like, oh, I thought it was shit. Like, I heard from James and a few other people that it was not very good. And I thought, well, you know what? I love superheroes. I'm a big Batman fan. Excited to see Keaton come back. Let's go check it out. So I went in with no expectations. But actually, he really raised my hopes because he said it was really funny and really well done. And I said, okay, cool. So I went in and I'm a big critic, man. Like, I'll go in and I'll be a douche about it, you know?
Yeah.
But I sat down, totally honestly, like, I enjoyed it all the way through.
Yeah.
I laughed way more than I thought. And, like, even with, like, movies like Guardians and stuff where they're, like, intentionally funny, they don't really make me laugh that much. Like, once there'll be one or two chuckles, but, like, I'm not, like, laughing. But Flash made me, like, really laugh a few times where I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of funny. Big shocker, I really liked Ezra Miller.
Yeah. Right?
Ezra Miller did a good job. Like, I was, like, not expecting to like him at all. Highly enjoyable. Now, were there some issues? 100%. The CGI was terrible. It looked like something from the Scorpion King.
Yeah, it did look like
the side characters and also alternate universe Ezra Miller or past Ezra Miller, where his family's alive or his mom's alive. A little too stupid. Like they made him a little too stupid, but at the same time, like it lent itself to being funny. Like I was like, and like his friends, like they were a bit over the top, but like for whatever reason, there was enough going on where I could look past it. It held my attention all the way through. I laughed a lot. The Batman scenes were really good.
Yeah.
All the Batmans, spoiler alert. The beginning with Affleck was actually really well done, and then Michael Keaton's scenes were freaking badass. Like him actually kicking ass, using his utility belt, using his batarangs, using the Batwing. So well done. Yeah. Like some of the coolest action you've ever seen from Michael Keaton's Batman. It was really good through and through. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, there were some issues with some of the comedic attempts and some of the characters being dumbed down and the CGI, but that being said, for me, this was like a 3.8 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like, I would watch it again. I would get a Flash toy. Like, it's like, it was fun.
Yeah,
like,
it was super fun. Yeah.
I think it was good, and it's the most I've enjoyed a superhero movie since No Way Home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was. Yeah, I mean, I feel like every superhero movie has to do with the overly annoying characters, and there's always certain jokes they feel like they have to like check mark off.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know, like those don't even faze me anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like you just
You're
accept.
unfazed.
Yeah, I'm unfazed. You just know it's gonna come. And you just you buy. But there was some physical comedy that really cracked me up.
Yeah.
Two things in particular. The second Flash makeshifts a Flash suit out of an old Batman costume.
Loved it.
And of course, like the old Batman costumes, the thing is you can't turn your head or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't turn your neck. And there's one point where he tries to look at the other Flash and
That's hilarious.
Yeah, the mask like stays here and like, he fucks up his face. And this looks really funny.
Yes.
And then there was a second scene where the main Flash loses his powers. And he doesn't know he's lost.
That was cool.
That was cool. And it's so funny because his run looks stupid anyway. Even when he's doing the actual run, he doesn't say like his two fingers.
It looks goofy.
It looks fucking silly. Yeah. But they make fun of it because when he loses his powers, he tries to test, he tries to run anyway, and then he just ends up like running around the room doing his stupid run, and it's like really fucking funny. Even Emily was like cracking up.
Great,
it was funny. So they had like some genuine comedy. And I can't think of the last time that superhero movie really made me lose it, laughing.
You know what it reminded me of? Like, also with the kind of cheesy CGI, it reminded me of like a early 2000 superhero movie kind of.
Yeah.
It reminded me of kind of like that era, maybe like around like Iron Man 2.
Yes.
Where it was kind of like it hadn't quite gotten to everything trying to fucking tie into every other superhero movie. And yes, I know that's Marvel and I know Flash is DC, but it had that feeling of like kind of a prototype, but like it's finding where it's at. And it felt like it was focused just on this movie. I feel like a big downfall to these other superhero movies is they're trying so hard to monkey branch off to other projects.
Yes.
And like, oh, we got to connect Thor to Captain America to the Hulk, to, you know what I mean? And it's like, you got to connect Batman to Wonder Woman to Aquaman. This one, it was just kind of like, okay, these characters are here, but we're focused on the central story, and it actually feels like it matters.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah, it was impactful, and it wasn't overboard.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, again, Endgame, which I enjoyed, but it was so stupid at the end where they're like, there's all the circles, and like every fucking superhero comes through. It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
And I get that was like this climactic moment for the whole Marvel arc, but it's like, still like, it's silly, it's contrived.
Yeah.
With this one, it felt organic. They all came together.
Leia Organa.
Yeah, Leia Organic.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, the comedy was really fun. Yeah, the combat was really good, and Max made a couple interesting points.
The combat was good.
He said DC combat was always way better than Marvel combat. And he's right. Marvel combat always feels overly choreographed. It's almost like they're just dancing.
Yeah.
DC combat really feels like they're fighting.
Yeah, DC combat, it feels like there's actually connecting with the hits.
Yeah.
Marvel, not all of them, you know, with the exception of the wonderful Tobey Maguire Spider-Man fighting the Goblin.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a good.
But as far as like Avengers type stuff, it feels very soft. It feels like people are falling through portals. Nobody ever dies really. Like nothing's really at stake. You know?
Yeah.
But I feel like with this one, it felt like when Batman was kicking ass, he was really kicking ass. Yeah. When the Flash was hitting people, he was hitting people. When I don't want to spoil anything, but there were some intense scenes where it's kind of like, oh wow, this is like really fun to watch.
Yeah.
And usually, like I said, I'm a big critic, but I could really forgive the mistakes, if you want to call them that, with some of the visuals and with some of the side characters, because there was enough going on to hold my entertainment. There was enough humor, there was enough action, and it was just well paced enough. And there's actually a little bit of heart in there too.
There was a lot.
There's a little bit in there. Some parts with his mom where I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of
yeah.
And I think they did a really good job. And I think the hate that it's getting is totally unwarranted.
I think there's a couple reasons why I think it's getting hate and why I know it's getting hate. But yeah, the first one was the bad CGI, which like if that really bugged you that much, like get over yourself.
Then why are you jerking off to Multiverse of Madness?
Yeah. And by the way, in Spider-Verse, there was a part that looked really like even shittier. When they're talking to Miles about like all the different Spider-Men and all the important moments for them, they like insert the scenes from previous live-action Spider-Man movies into the cartoon.
That's weird.
And so it's like you see like live-action Andrew Garfield like crying over Gwen, and live-action Tobey crying over Uncle Ben. You know, like it looks so bizarre.
That's an odd choice.
Yeah. It like threw me out of it, and it looked terrible. And then on top of that, they had like literally just like JPEG images of different comic books, and it was like, you know, these are important moments for other Spider-Man. It was fucking bizarre. It looked like shit. Like it looked just as shitty in a different way than just as shitty as the weird CGI in Flash to me at least.
Yeah. I would say for you guys, sorry to interrupt you, but I would say for you guys, if you're on the fence about watching the Flash, I would say give it a chance, but go in with the mindset of like, you know, when you go back and you watch kind of like Batman Forever, and you're kind of like, there's like a campy element to it, kind of going like, I'm going to have fun with that. Or kind of like Spider-Man 3, kind of like, you're like, okay, there's issues with it, but like overall it's great. It's like a really cool car with like not the best paint job, but like it's still really cool under the hood, and it's really fun to drive.
Yeah,
and it's like one of those where it's like just go in with the idea of having fun, and like I feel like you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah,
and for fans of Batman, especially Keaton's Batman, like it's a great ride.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, and there's some, I don't want to spoil anything, and hopefully it hasn't been spoiled for you guys online, but there's some really neat cameos in there that really true DC fans will be really stoked about, and longtime fans will be really stoked about.
So the second thing was, coming on that same point, that I put down dead guy cameos. So there's a lot of cameos in this film, and some of them are of actors who are deceased. Yeah. However, my thing was, again, online, I saw so much hate for these cameos. Like, they shouldn't do that. That's so fucked up. In the Flash, and in the Flash, they do it really tastefully. You see them for like 5 seconds. They don't have any lines.
They're not butchering them.
Yeah, you just see their face. Whereas in Rogue One, you see fucking Peter Cushing as a major character walking around with lines. They literally like resurrected him from the dead. He's a fucking zombie. And they did the same thing with Carrie Fisher in like Star Wars 8 or whatever. And no one batted an eye. I felt like at that time I was the only one when I saw Rogue One. I was like, it feels a little fucked up to bring back Peter Cushing in such an intensive role.
R.I.P. Peter Cushing.
Yeah, great actor. Yeah, amazing actor. But like, let him. If it's gonna be that much of a part where he's like a major character, then maybe you shouldn't do that.
I think Peter Cushing, didn't he play Dracula at some point?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I'm gonna look him up. Go ahead.
But yeah, it showed the hypocrisy that these people were geared to want to hate the Flash. If they saw no problem with Rogue One or Last Jedi or whatever it was, and for some reason they see 5 seconds of like a dead guy's face, and they're like, "Oh, this is fucked up." Like it's so clear. Yeah, that's not actual reasoning on their part. They were just geared to just like it.
Yes. And Peter Cushing, yes, he was in Dracula.
Yeah,
Dracula 1958, The Curse of Frankenstein 1957, Star Wars.
Yeah, beautiful.
The Brides of Dracula. He did a lot of Dracula.
He did a lot of spooky stuff.
Cool.
And then the third thing was that all the hubbub with Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller like lost his shit, and he like.
I was surprised how much I liked him.
Yeah, me too.
I thought I was gonna hate his guts. I was like, wow, I hope they don't recast him.
Yeah. But obviously he did all this bad shit. He like assaulted some woman and like burgled some home or something.
He did it very quickly.
Yeah, he did some bad shit. However, you gotta realize. So first of all, Ezra Miller was one guy of thousands probably that it took to make this film.
Yeah.
Don't let this one guy ruin it. And again, it was other people made him look good, other people made him sound good, other people made him funny and charming. It wasn't necessarily the actor alone.
Yeah.
And most actors, most A-list blockbuster actors are not really good people. I can think of like 5 off the top of my head who are pieces of shit that no one cares about being a piece of shit. Mark Wahlberg. He was one of, if you can like look this stuff up.
Yeah, not a fan.
I never liked him. Yeah,
he's made some good movies.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually capable, just like Emmett is, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are, of separating art from the artist.
Yeah.
So it's like I've seen some really good Mark Wahlberg movies, like him in The Departed. I know he's just a part of an ensemble cast, but like
he's cool in that one.
Yeah, it's like cool, him and he did a movie called Father Stew that made me fucking cry.
Yeah,
that movie was really good. But Mark Wahlberg as a person, like he irks me the wrong way, and like he's done some bad shit.
Yeah, so you can look this up. He when he was 15, him and his friends threw rocks at like black kids and shouted the N-word at them, and then he beat the shit out of some Vietnamese person for being Asian. Like
wait, that's not okay.
He's an actual like hateful, racist person.
No, he did some really bad. He was a really bad dude and stuff that like obviously all joking aside we don't condone. And like he was a piece of shit, and like I get that vibe from him. I don't like him.
Yeah.
But Daddy's Home too. Fucking hilarious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
John Hamm. He's another one. He's a very charismatic guy.
He would have been a cool Batman.
Yeah. Him and his buddies were hazing someone in college.
Oh no.
And they went so overboard that they were doing something with his fucking dick.
What?
And the dude.
Frats.
The dude lost the ability to procreate.
What the fuck?
And the only thing that happened to John Hamm was that he like moved colleges and it got kind of like hushed.
Dude, frat guys suck.
Yeah, and then even as much as it pains me to say, like I love Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
But he's had like so many allegations of domestic abuse in relationships.
Really?
Yep. And then even your boy Ferris Bueller.
Oh no.
Well, you know what he did though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the reckless driving, and he like killed a mom and his daughter.
You know what was crazy about that was Jennifer Grey, who played his sister in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They were in a serious relationship at that time, and she was with him when they were driving. And I don't know what the situation was. I don't know if he was tired, I don't know if he was drunk, I don't know if he was taking the day off from school, I don't know what it was. But he, sorry, he drove in the wrong lane and he like killed the mother and daughter, and horrific. And I'm sure he has to live with that every day for the rest of his life. But that being said, I still love Ferris Bueller. I love Matthew Broderick as an actor. The producer,
he's a great actor.
Great. Glory, great. Tower Heist.
Tower Heist is great.
But dude, you ever seen the movie Election?
No.
That is like one of his best. That was the movie he did with Reese Witherspoon, and it like almost feels like a weird, like unsanctioned sequel to Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
But he's a teacher. Cool, Great movie, Election. So cool. But I get what you're saying. Like people do bad shit, but sometimes you got to separate the art from the artist, and it doesn't mean you condone the bad things that they've done. It just means that like, hey, a bunch of other people made this movie. Let's enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like the dude. Speaking of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the actor that played Mr. Rooney, the principal, like he ended up like molesting like underage dudes.
Yeah.
He's like he was like a bad guy. He's like in jail, I think, for life. And like, does that take away from Ferris Bueller? Does it take away from what else was he in? I think Beetlejuice. Like it's like he's a good actor, you know, and he did some good stuff. But he, in his personal life, terrible person.
Right? Yeah. I think people really do equate an actor with their roles.
Yeah.
And so I feel like everyone before was like, "Oh, I love Ezra Miller. He could never. Well, he was such a great guy." It's like, no, you loved the Flash. You loved the characters you saw. You don't know anything fucking about this dude. But yeah, and again, like all these other guys that did much more egregious stuff, they get a pass and no one fucking cares. But because this is topical, people are just like, he's a piece of shit, I'm never going to support this. Yeah. It's like, do you really care, or you just like spoon-fed this stuff? Mm-hmm. So it's just so clear to me that everyone didn't make up their own mind. They were just fed this stuff, and I think they went in the same as me, but they couldn't come out with their own conclusion. They were just like, yes, Spider-Verse is good, yay, what a great film. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, the Flash is bad, yeah, fuck the Flash. And they couldn't get out of it.
I thought Ezra Miller was the character he was playing was funny as fuck.
He was so funny.
Like there were some scenes in there, like where he brings the girl in and he's like awkwardly getting beer, and like he had such good comedic timing.
He did, yeah.
I was like, dude, he's funny.
Yeah, when the beer like blows up. Yeah, there's a lot of good physical comedy in that movie.
Yeah, he did a really good job. So, I get it, if they want to recast him, but I think he did a pretty darn good job, and like I would be a little bummed out to see him be recast.
Yeah, I think honestly, from what I've read, that was the last movie for almost everyone in that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, which is sad, except for Supergirl, which is great. She was cool. I want to see her come back.
She was very attractive.
Yeah. Her suit was like sexy too.
Yeah. Her booty was popping.
Yeah, her booty was popping. She was she was cool.
She had a super booty.
She had a super booty, and you were totally rooting for her. But
yeah, she did good. A good choice.
People have a weird. And, I want to say that, like, yeah, you can appreciate CGI as one thing, but honestly, if you can't, I feel like getting hung up on the CGI is so, like, just brain dead. Yeah. You're like, what I'm looking at doesn't look nice, boo, boo. Yeah. Like, you can't get past that and appreciate the story and the acting. That one aspect really ruins the whole thing for you.
And I'm such a stickler for that, like... it's a decent movie when I can look past that. Because, Multiverse of Madness, that was one of my big pain points. I was like, well, it looks like shit. But for me, sorry if you guys liked it, I hated it. But if you like it, I respect your opinion, but personally, I hated it. And watching it, like, there was nothing redeeming about it. Like, the story wasn't good. I felt the whole Multiverse of Madness thing, the multiverse in Doctor Strange's world, I feel like it was really underutilized. They had really shitty small cameos. They didn't draw enough from the extended universe. Like, it really was underwhelming. And I feel like this one, took a slightly deeper dive, for DC with the Flash. And like, it didn't go as deep as I wanted, but they definitely went deeper into the surface and had some cool little cameos where I was like, hell yeah. Yeah. And the CGI, like I said, the story and the comedy was strong enough and the action was strong enough, I could actually look past it. And that's rare for me to do for a superhero movie. Yeah. And I'm so different, I guess, when I look at film in general. Because one of my favorite movies is it's either 2007 or 2008 Beowulf, which everyone hates because it looks weird, and it does. It looks weird. Like the whole thing looks like a cutscene from a video game. Polar Express.
Yeah. But to me, it looks weird the first 5 or 10 minutes, but then I get past that, and it's a really good movie
because it's a great story.
Yeah, it's a great story. It's well acted, and it still looks good once you get past what it is, and your eyes sort of adjust to that medium. It looks beautiful. And it is beautiful. I tear up. I get emotional. It's a fucking beautiful story again. But people can't look past just the surface level, what they're literally looking at.
The pinnacle.
Yeah, the pinnacle. They can't appreciate anything beyond the pinnacle. Yeah. They can't appreciate the story, and that pisses me off.
Spider-Man into the pinnacle.
Into the pinnacle, yeah. So anyway, and so the fact alone that I was duped into thinking Spider-Verse would be so great and then Flash would be so bad. Yeah. And I put Flash definitely a little bit above Spider-Verse.
There you go.
Just really pissed me off.
What was your star rating out of 5 for we'll do Flash? For Spidey and for Flash?
I would say for Spider-Verse just a 3 out of 5, and then for Flash, I think your 3.8 is pretty good.
I agree, 3.8. Yeah. Because, a 5 out of 5 is like, Holy Grail, Back to the Future, Collateral, Die Hard, movies like that. But I would say for this one, like, yes, the CGI knocked it down a bit. Let's say it brings it down to a 4.5. Some of the acting, some of the side characters bring it down to a 4. And I'd say some of the story and some of the choices, 3.8. But that being said, that's really good. Anything above a 3.5 for me is a good movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think this one was really good, and I would go back and I'd watch it again. This is one I'd consider owning. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. It was fun, man. Yeah. It's like, go in with an open mind, and like if you love Batman and you love the Flash, like you're gonna have a great time. Yeah. And
briefly, since we're on the superhero movies, you saw Guardians, I saw Guardians. What did you think about Guardians 3?
Guardians 3 really emotional. It made me like almost tear up, because I'm an animal fan, I'm an animal lover. So seeing these, the sad bionic creatures getting all fucked up and Rocket Raccoon, that was hard to watch. You know. So it had a lot of heart, but. Was it good? Yes. Did I enjoy it? Yes. But do I care to really watch it again ever? No. I like Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's something about it that's just like a little too stupid. Yeah. The first one was really good. I enjoyed the first one. Second one I never saw. Third one, really well done, really visually beautiful. Like watching it, like it was like a really visually beautiful movie.
Yeah.
That one I'd give it like I would say a 3.5 out of 5. But like yeah, they did a good job and like it tugged at my heartstrings. But I don't know, I'm just not the biggest Guardians fan. But it was well made. I would say 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked it coming out of the theaters, but then the more I thought about it, the emotional aspect of it was sort of a low blow. I felt like because anyone is gonna tear up over like animal abuse, which is essentially what you see in the movie.
Yeah,
so
it made me bummed out.
Yeah,
and that was the point.
Like, I full on cried in the movie, but it was like again, it was because like of course,
manipulating your emotions.
Yeah, that's not necessarily because like the writing was so good. Although the scene where they do spoiler alert, like all the fucking cute animals get shot.
Yeah,
it's like the way it happens is really eerily realistic.
Yeah,
it feels like you're watching little kids get shot almost.
I didn't like it.
The way the little bunny reacts.
So
it's
sad,
like spinning around. It's like running in circles and yelling.
It was beautifully made and very emotional.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think a one-time watch for me.
Yeah.
But that being said, was it a great movie? 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me feel. I was totally invested in the moment. But I think Guardians of the Galaxy, like, I want more action. And I feel like I get it. That's what it is. And I know a lot of people really love Guardians. Not shitting on it at all. But it just was, I think, missing a little impact just in the whole series. It just didn't have enough edge that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the point. Like, it has Rocket Raccoon and Groot and shit. Like, it's more family friendly. Mm-hmm. And that's cool. It's fine, but it's just not really my cup of tea fully. But it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I like it. Fun video game.
Yeah. I'm tempted, in your rating, Flash is a bit above Guardians.
Yeah, 100%.
Interesting. I don't know. They're pretty.
You mean the third one?
Yeah, right.
Oh, Flash 100% is I like better.
I can't decide which one's above which, but then Spider-Verse is definitely below both of those.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, there was just a little too many parts, like the dudes were they in like bubbly suits and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was just kind of like, it's cool, but it's like, it's very bubblegum, it's very safe.
The dumbest part of that movie was the fake Peter Quill death when he starts getting all puffy.
Yeah.
And then the Adam Warlock, I guess it's just a pun because his name was Adam.
He was cool.
He was cool. But like the shot where it's like the Adam touching God thing, and he like comes. What the fuck was that? It was stupid.
I like Flash. I like Flash a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just me. I know a lot of you guys love Guardians, and that's fine. Star-Lord's super cool. The first Guardians was really well done, but like I said, I always felt it was missing just a little bit of a punch for me.
Yeah. But anyway, I got. It was funny when I came out on Sunday morning of The Flash, so happy, and my dad was so happy with the film. Max really liked it, and we're all just like, "Wow, that's great." Mm-hmm. And then it started like sinking that like, "Wow, everyone said this was shit."
Yeah.
And then I did the thing where I go on Twitter, I'm like reading comments, and I'm like, "Wow, everyone fucking says the Flash."
I think it's because it's popular to say you hate it.
Yeah. Everyone's just like sucking the Spider-Verse's dick, and I was like, none of it made any sense to me. And
sucking the web fluid out.
Yeah. And then I get into this weird, like, it's almost this like existential dread where I'm like, why don't I have the same opinion as all these people? It freaks me out. Like, I feel like so separated from everyone else. Because I'm like, how did you guys come to that conclusion on such a mass basis?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I couldn't disagree more. It legitimately freaks me out.
Well, I had that with Multiverse of Madness, and I had that with a bunch.
Did everyone like that? I don't even notice if everyone liked that.
Quite a few people did.
Holy shit.
Quite a few people did, and they're like, "Oh, it's so Sam Raimi," and I'm like, that was Sam Raimi getting like sodomized by fucking Marvel and Disney. Like, it was just not good at all.
It was terrible. Yeah.
But to each their own. Like, if you liked it, cool,
Yeah.
But the only good part of that I think was Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, she was cool. Yeah, that was about it.
And I like Doctor Strange. Like, I'm a Doctor Strange fan, but like that movie just did him dirty.
The third eye looked like shit too. You want to talk about bad CGI?
It was goofy.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I wish it would have been a lot more.
The whole first sequence with him and America Chavez or whatever.
Oh, terrible. The worst.
Yeah.
She was so done with that starfish. God, you guys want to see us really lay into Multiverse of Madness? We did a video. It's a rant video where it says Multiverse of Madness, why it sucks.
Yeah.
Just go check it out, and you can hear us rant for like 20 minutes on why we hated it. Because
it was really bad.
That one I think I gave a half star to.
I think the best explanation I can give you is that I can forgive bad CGI if the concept is good.
100%.
I can't forgive bad CGI if the concept itself is bad.
Exactly.
And I can't even forgive good CGI if the concept is really bad.
Yeah.
So, like Man of Steel. It has great CGI. Everyone was comparing The Flash to Man of Steel. Like, this was 10 years ago and it looks beautiful. I don't fucking care. Man of Steel was so boring.
Man of Steel looked good, but...
It looked beautiful, but...
You guys are going to get mad at me. You guys can get mad at me. I like Henry Cavill. I like Superman. I like superhero stuff. I walked out of Man of Steel.
Yeah, it's boring as fuck.
I remember I was there with my buddy Alan. Shout out to our buddy Alan. And we were in the middle of the show, and it was like one of those where it's like, it starts out, you got Russell Crowe, you got Henry Cavill, yada yada. I'd say we stayed for about an hour, and I was like, dude, nothing's happening.
Yeah, nothing happened.
And it was one of those where I was like, let's go do something else. And we literally just both were like, yeah, whatever, and we left.
I remember my aunt, of all people, made the best judgment call in that film. She says it's boring to watch Superman go up against people that have the same powers. You want to watch Superman go up against humans. And like see him, just not even like fight humans necessarily, but see him juxtaposed against humanity.
I want to see a Nick Cage 90s Superman.
Yeah.
we were just watching a documentary. Highly recommend it. It's called The Death of Superman Lives. You can watch it on YouTube. The full thing is on there, HD. And really, really entertaining. And you can see how this thing almost came to fruition. It was written by Kevin Smith. It was going to be directed by Tim Burton. Really cool. Nick Cage was going to be Clark Kent / Superman. Mm-hmm. He was going to be like kind of like a weaker version, and he had to really rely on the suit. And it sounded so freaking cool, but too many cooks in the kitchen, the producers had too many weird ideas, and it eventually lost funding. I forget exactly why. I forget the ending of the documentary, but it didn't come to pass, but it could have been really cool. Yeah. So I would have loved to have seen a Superman like that, because the Superman Returns that they did in like the early 2000s I thought was pretty weak. Honestly, shocker, I've actually never seen the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, the ones from the 70s and 80s.
I saw them when I was a real little kid.
I'd like to. I heard they're great for the time. And I'm sure, obviously, you're working with late 70s technology. It was probably different, but I would love to watch those. Excuse me, but yeah, Henry Cavill, I don't know, he was all, like, he seems like a great embodiment of the character, but I'm just not a Zack Snyder fan. Mm-hmm. So like that's why it seemed kind of boring, but he was cool in like Justice League and stuff. But like Batman v Superman, like boring to me,
Yeah.
I just like I said, not a Snyder fan. Nothing against the actors, but except for Watchmen. Watchmen was cool.
Yeah. Watchmen, and again, Snyder makes like beautiful shots, makes things look really, really, really beautiful, but it has zero heart and zero expositional propulsion.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Watchmen gets a pass.
Yeah, Watchmen gets a pass. Yeah, it's hard to fuck up. And Watchmen's so interesting.
And you know what's kind of weird? Actually, it's like I didn't hate Justice League.
Yeah, I didn't hate it either. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was one of those where it's like it wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as everyone said. I have yet to watch the Snyder cut. I would like to see the Snyder cut.
I did see Justice League. It was cool.
Did you watch the Snyder cut?
I think I did, and honestly, I don't remember much of it.
Okay. I want to see Superman with his black outfit.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I do remember watching, because me and my mom did we binged Batman vs Superman and then Justice League.
Okay. Did you like Batman vs Superman?
There was one part I liked from it, and it was I really liked it because Batman vs Superman came out right before Wonder Woman. I think
I never finished it.
Yeah, I mean most of it's really boring and kind of whatever. But there's one sequence, the most exciting sequence there is, and this is why I think. This is why I think we like the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man more than the second, and generally
the second one's great.
Yeah, the second one's great, but I think any superhero's first movie is going to be the best one because everyone likes to see the origin story, the inception of the hero, and the most exciting scene in Batman vs Superman for me wasn't any combat, but it was when Bruce Wayne infiltrates. Who's the bad guy? Lex Luthor, young Lex Luthor's party and gets some USB because Lex Luthor is doing all this. He's studying about metahumans and trying to track them down, which are just the superheroes in the world. And they're all sort of spread out at this time, and some of them don't really know they're superheroes or metahumans or whatever. And so Bruce Wayne steals this USB and plugs it into his computer, and he's checking out all these files on this CCTV footage of all these different heroes. And it's really cool. Really, he clicks on one, and it's this shot of the Flash, and he Ezra Miller, and he sees that he's at a Circle K, and he sees that it's getting robbed, and you see him quickly go over and fuck up the guy, and he just goes back to getting milk or whatever. And then he opens up another, and then it's that old World War II or World War I picture of Wonder Woman with the other troopers.
Yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah, it's this cool montage of him seeing these quick glimpses of all the other heroes.
You like the glimpses?
Yeah, I like the glimpses. That was so much more exciting to me than just full on.
It's the video game would say the guy from
exactly.
Metropolis.
Yeah, in Arkham Asylum. When you can overhear two thugs talking about the flying freak from Metropolis, and that's he's out there.
I love that.
For some reason, the hint at the hero is so much more exciting than just seeing them full on.
Knowing that the universe is connected without it being too on the nose.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, The Dark Knight did it perfectly, because at the end of Dark Knight Rises, you find out that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going to be Robin.
Yes.
And that's like, oh, it's so fucking cool. And of course you never get to see it, but almost like...
The idea of it.
Yeah, the idea of it is more exciting than the actual thing.
I think that's a big issue that I had with the whole Zack Snyder universe of Justice League and Batman and Superman and everything, is we were so spoiled with Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. Going from that like hyper real world Batman, Chris Nolan, over to the Zack Snyder over stylized Batman, it felt like a downgrade to me.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know a lot of people will disagree, and that's fine, but I just think the Nolan world was so much more interesting. And then going to that, I really kind of checked out. I was kind of like, I don't care. Yeah. But seeing Batman in the beginning of this was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Flash.
Yeah, super cool.
Anyway, time for a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with a few final thoughts.
Hello. Gotham Corner Store? Yes, we seem to be down to our last Diet Coke. A gentleman is on his way to pick some up. Just look for a black car. No, this black car will be rather difficult to miss. And by the way, the gentleman is usually in quite a rush.
Just for the taste of it, Diet Coke. Speed into action with the new Flash Speed Force.
I've got the need to go fast.
Blast into a multiverse of adventure. Let's go, Batman.
We have to go back.
Speed Force action. It's a race against time. Power up. Epic lights and sounds. Shake and activate Speed Force. It's the Flash, young Barry.
Concentrate on your molecules.
Worlds collide with the Flash Speed Force and other figures, each sold separately from Spin Master.
Hey, welcome back. Did you enjoy that brief but necessary intermission?
So brief, so necessary.
Did you find something nice, something you like? Maybe a gift for your lover?
An action figure for
All
your
right.
lover.
Here's a fun one we started doing on the other podcast, which you need to join, the Patreon After Hours, Unfazed After Hours. But we'll give you a little sample. We're going to generate some random questions with this random question website, and we're going to answer them on the fly. Marty McFly, let's go. What's something that you thought you'd have already done by now but haven't?
Honestly, made any kind of, well, I don't even want to count, like Rumble Down and all that shit.
Sure.
But any kind of, like, decent, either short or full-length film.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's something I want to do, at some point, and preferably more than one. Yeah, make a film. I would also say have a really cool studio. I'd like to have a really good, legit studio space. Like, this is nice. I'm appreciative of this.
Yeah.
But, like, it would be cool to have, like, a real straight-up, like, unfazed studio.
Yeah.
Where it's, like, really, I'd like something like that. So I agree. All right, next question. We'll do a couple of these. What is your current philosophy about money?
Try to save it, but also try to enjoy it. It doesn't really work out most of the time. But.
That's a good one, yeah. I'm getting to a point now. I've always been pretty shitty with money, and it's something I'm really trying to work on, and it's hard. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you guys agree, like, shit's expensive, and it always feels like there's way more going out than there is coming in financially. So I'm kind of at a point right now, my philosophy is where I'm trying to figure out ways to make more money, ways to save more money, and also, third, ways to have my money work for me. So I'm trying to figure out wise investments. I'm starting to try to educate myself on real estate, but I'm not anywhere near ready to buy any kind of real estate. But I'm trying to get, at least familiar with it. Still doing, research on stocks and crypto, but, you mentioned that all people have a hissy fit in the comments. So, do your own research. But I'm definitely trying to just get better with money as a whole. So my philosophy is try to have it work for you and try not to spend as much on frivolous shit.
And I will say, not that I would ever probably give any of this stuff away, or not give it away to sell it, but all the action figures I've been getting over the last year, there's one in particular, thousands of dollars, not even kidding.
100%.
There's one I have that I looked on eBay and it's going for like $800 and $900 now. It's just one.
Nice.
And I just off the top of my head, it's like easily over $1,000 I have with them.
That's great.
Which is insane. And I didn't spend them. Like I got them. I was pretty good at nabbing them where I could find them.
Yeah.
Getting them early on and stuff, and selecting them. But at the same time, like, it's cool to know that that's there. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't.
Exactly.
It's hard.
That's the beauty of buying doubles.
Yeah.
But so I'm definitely trying to get that way too. So I think a part of your philosophy is funneling money into investments that you're interested in.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, I'm definitely trying to do that with comic books as well.
Yes.
And vinyl and toys and.
But then the bad thing is you don't want to get rid of it.
Exactly. So I think eventually you would have to just buy collections. You know what I think would be great is like if you had a shop and you bought stuff that you kind of like, but you have your own collection, but then you buy stuff you're not as attached to. Like let's say your niche is Star Wars toys, right?
Yeah.
But then you have a toy store and you buy a shit ton of like. Let's say Transformers.
Right.
You're not a Transformers fan, but you appreciate the value. Then you can sell as many He-Man and Transformers toys as you want because you don't have the attachment to it.
It's so true.
Yeah, so I think that's the move. What piece of art has had a large impact on you? A lot of art.
There's a painting. Oh, the fuck! I gotta look up what it's called. It's of a dead baby sheep and the mother sheep not yelling, but just sort of crying over it, and it's trying to sort of defend it from a bunch of crows.
Dear God,
I forget who did it, but it's a really beautiful painting.
Sheeple.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about that one, it's a very famous painting.
It's a sad painting.
Yeah, it's a very sad painting, but so good.
Wow.
This is something about it that's really impactful. Most paintings that people say oh, this is one of the greats, I don't really feel anything from.
Yeah.
But that one's oh shit.
Wow.
There's a tragedy within a painting, and that's rare for me.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have an early memory of my dad's back office, and he had a bunch of things that really are burned in my memory in a good way. Of I remember he had a big picture of Cyclops from X-Men, and also I remember here's kind of a weird story. I remember a big picture of Pablo Picasso's Three Musicians.
Oh, cool.
And it's that kind of cubism picture of three different musicians and the dog in the corner.
Yeah,
it's supposed to reference Picasso and his friends jamming. And I remember always think of that as an early memory. It's I remember that my dad was really into skiing when he was younger, and he had a skiing poster and a Cyclops poster. And I always remembered these things. And I remember one year for his birthday, I got a framed picture of the Three Musicians, a really nice print, pretty cool, photo of it framed. Yeah. And he's thanks. And he was why'd you give me this? And I was it's one of my earliest memories. I remember you had this in your office. And he's no, I didn't.
Oh my God.
And I was what? And I was no. I'm it was right above your dresser, right when you walk in the room. He's no, man. He's I never had this.
Oh my God.
And he's I really like it. Thank you. Damn. He's I'll put it up. And I'm you never had that? And he's it was a false memory, but
weird.
In my mind, how would I know Picasso's Three Musicians at such a young age and remember it as one of my earliest memories and associate it with his back room? But I thought it was so weird. And the only thing I can figure that we tried to figure out was maybe it was on a magazine that was in there, or maybe on a calendar with art on it, and it was a temporary thing, and I just happened to fixate on it.
Interesting.
That's the only thing I can think of. But in my mind, in my memory, I'm convinced that it was a Picasso picture.
Wow.
But anyway, but now it's a fulfillment because he now does have the picture in his office.
Damn.
Because I made it a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, let's do another. Okay. Where is the strangest place you have fallen asleep?
It's a tough one for me. I don't usually fall asleep unless I really feel safe. I have trouble if it's a bus or whatever. If I'm around strangers at all, I really can't fall asleep.
Makes sense.
Unless there's someone else next to me that I know.
Yeah.
I used to take the shuttle. There's a shuttle bus connected to the airport that drives back and forth from Tucson to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And this isn't a strange place at all, but I fell asleep on the shuttle bus once. I think that was the most vulnerable place I've ever fallen asleep. But yeah, usually I try to keep it to bed.
Yeah. No, that's a tough one. Yeah, I can. It's funny. I have a hard time falling asleep. I'm very nocturnal. I stay awake at night. I'm a night owl. But during the day, I can fall asleep super easy. But strangest place, I'm usually pretty cautious. Yeah. One thing, actually, going back to when I was 23 and I took a trip up to California thinking I was going to move there. I ended up driving. I spent a few weeks in Los Angeles, and then I drove up the coast to San Francisco. And I was running out of money at that point because I'd been there for a while. And I was just kind of seeing how far I could go before I knew I had to break down and go back home and get a job again. And I was literally just burning through my savings.
Yeah.
And I went up to San Francisco, and I remember it was towards the end of the trip. And I remember getting there and looking at all the different hotels, and they were all super expensive. And it was already 1 a.m, and I was I don't want to get a hotel just for a few hours. So I like went to the airport for a bit and tried to nap there, and I thought, well, no one will bother me at the airport, and I couldn't. It was like too bright and too loud, and I was like, all right. And then it was like 2 a.m, and I'm like, okay. So I Googled. I was in the Camry, and I Googled like wealthiest neighborhood in San Francisco, and I pulled up like the richest zip code. I drove there. I drove in front of this very full house, looking like rich house on the street. Locked the car up. Reclined, and I slept there until sunrise.
Wow, that's a cool one.
And I slept in like a very wealthy neighborhood, and it was like, I woke up and it was kind of foggy in San Francisco, and like, and it was
a beautiful little moment.
Yeah, slept in my car.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, let's do one more, and then we'll get to the email.
Let's do it.
What is the most recent fact you learned that surprised you? Ed, what is the most recent? Weird, wild stuff.
Shit, it's hard for me to think of this stuff off.
No, that's the point. We're keeping it sharp. Yeah.
Oh shoot, I don't know. Wow, that's a rough one.
Weird, wild stuff.
I can't think of any like weird facts or anything. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of one. Your mom met Slim Pickens.
That is true. My mom met Slim Pickens. Yeah. And your mom met the lady who used to play Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Linda Carter.
That's right.
Yeah, that was a fun fact. I feel like I can think of one more. I feel like I learned a really interesting thing recently, and I'm drawing a blank on it. It was like within the last week where I was like, holy shit, you learn something new every day.
Strange. It's a tough one.
Paul Anka. He's like the iconic singer who wrote My Way. Just a long time like singer, right? He wrote the Tonight Show theme, and every year gets $200,000 for it. Like,
oh my God.
For his whole life.
Holy shit!
Whatever it is now for Jimmy Fallon. But he, the original one with Johnny Carson, he wrote that.
Man, if I got $200,000 a year,
yeah,
you'd be making so much content.
I know, it'd be amazing. And he, on top of that, he wrote stuff for Sinatra. Big famous dude. But you want a fun podcast? Bill Burr had him on recently on his Monday morning podcast, and they talked. He was so cool. For like a dude that's like in his 80s, he was like so sharp and so cool.
That's a cool guy.
And he had great stories of like meeting the Beatles and meeting Elvis Presley and like hanging with Sinatra and like. Just like a class act, and like he's still alive. It's crazy. He's like in his 80s, but he like got famous when he was like 15. So like all these dudes were like 15 years older than him, but he was around them.
Wow.
And really cool. So check out Paul Anka on Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast.
I guess the only other fact I have to add, because that made me think of it, is my dad interviews. He writes for Epoch Times, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And it's an online journal, the Epoch, EPOCH.
Okay.
And he recently interviewed one of the actors who played a jet in the West Side Story movie.
Shit.
Yeah. And he said that they had the...
Let's rumble.
The directors made sure to keep the sharks and the jets apart like all the time because they wanted them to actually hate each other. So they weren't like allowed to talk off camera or anything to try and develop some like just actual disregard for each other.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the email and the Instagram. You got your phone?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll kick it off with our email. Let's see. Okay, it's kind of an interesting one. The Beatles will release one last song.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
So let's read this. Super interesting. Okay. I'll try to make this quick. While John Lennon died more than 40 years ago, R.I.P., his voice lives on. Now with the help of artificial intelligence, the late singer-songwriter's voice will be part of the last Beatles record, as Paul McCartney tells BBC, Big Black Cock Radio, 4's Martha Kearney. McCartney didn't reveal the name of the song, but BBC News' Mark Savage speculates it will be Now and Then, a song Lennon composed in 1978. I've heard recordings of it. It's a very good song.
Cool.
2 years before his murder. Kind of a sad song, and I do think, actually, I have some Beatles bootlegs. I've heard a slightly cleaned up version that they did, but it would be cool to hear him flesh it out.
That's cool.
Lennon included the song on a cassette tape he had labeled For Paul, which Lennon's widow Yoko Ono later gave to McCartney. That's heartwarming.
Yeah.
Lennon had recorded the song and a handful of others using a boombox and a piano inside his apartment, per BBC News. the Beatles released 2 of the cassette songs, Free as a Bird and Real Love, both fantastic. Look them up if you haven't heard them. They cleaned them up in the 90s and they were great. They did it in the mid-90s with help from producer Jeff Lynne from ELO. And though the band had once tried to record a version of Now and Then, they eventually gave up on their efforts. McCartney said, thanks to AI, he may finally get his wish. So yeah, super, super exciting stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like surreal.
So you got one more Beatles song coming out, guys.
That's so fucking weird,
Let's hope it's a good one.
Damn, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Weird,
wild stuff.
Weird, wild stuff. This is one of 2 I got for the Instagram. A new report reveals Americans are drinking as much alcohol now as in Civil War days. The report comes from the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, who found that the average modern American consumes 2.51 gallons of ethanol versus 2.53 in 1860.
Ethanol.
Experts believe the pandemic did cause a recent spike in alcohol consumption, with many Americans working from home. Yeah, I also read that the CDC said there's an epidemic of depression in America. I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Shocker.
Yeah, right, yeah. Anyway.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think that's 100%. Like, people drink way more than ever, and I think pandemic, like, spiked, ladies sitting at home, knocking back 2 bottles of wine.
Yeah.
Like, and guys, too.
Everyone thinks Spider-Verse is the second best animated film ever, no wonder they're depressed.
They gotta be drunk.
Yeah.
And stupid.
Here's one. This really cracked me up, because this is so true.
Yeah.
A psychologist warns a major red flag if you relax by enjoying true crime stories. One mental health expert has warned that those who listen to or watch episodes of true crime shows to unwind might be seriously disturbed. Psychologist Dr. Thema Bryant sat down with Mel Robbins on her podcast and revealed those who consume violent media may do so for a specific reason. It might be because the trauma of it all is familiar to them. She said if your idea of relaxing before you go to sleep is to watch 3 episodes of Law & Order, then I would encourage you to think about why is trauma relaxing to me. So if this sounds like you, then you may be in need of some pretty serious counseling. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And I said literally every girl.
Yeah. Yeah, like I joke that the girls are into it.
Every girl I talked to was like hardcore into true crime. It's just a thing. It's just a reality.
Yeah.
Here's a weird story for you, which connects to this. My mom and I went to actually West Rest Haven Cemetery, which was one of our first ghost hunts together, Emma and I. And, our second one, I think. Green Acres was our first. But I went there with my mom because a really close family friend who used to be a neighbor, we were just going and paying our respects to their graves. They've been gone for a long time, but just every so often we like to go and, put flowers on their grave. Real nice people. They were really close friends of the family. And we went there, and what was crazy was going to the directory to find another person who had passed away. It was a bunch of really attractive women working there at the funeral home as like the funeral directors and whatever you call them, the assistants. And like literally there was like 3 different girls working there that were like super hot, and they were like in their 20s. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense because girls are all into morbid shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, usually you think of like these
they
like
love psychology.
You think of these like Addams Family like pale lurch dudes working there like being creeps, but these girls were like you'd see them at like Twin Peaks. Like
I love that.
They were like hot.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to one of them. She was like this really like hot, like hard body Asian girl. She was like very attractive. And I was like, hey, do you ever have anything creepy happen here? And she's like she said like she was irritated by me asking. Yeah, and she's like, honestly, she's like, yeah. And she's like, sometimes stuff will move around. And then I was like what? And she's
it's so casual.
Yeah, and then she's like, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. And then like she went back to her stuff, and I was like, holy shit.
Man, those people piss me off. If I ever saw something move around, I'd be like, let's try to get it to happen again, let's record it.
I know.
Fuck, yeah.
But the fact that they're so dismissive of it, I'm like, okay, I get you work there, but like maybe let's put up some more cameras.
Yeah, I'd be fucking excited.
But anyway, my point was serious baddies, like hard body baddies, and they all like death.
Yep.
I don't know, they're all fingering themselves to Ted Bundy.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right.
And it's weird. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm right.
You're right. Yeah.
All right. Americans have tip fatigue. Tip creep. Americans have tip fatigue. They resent tipping. Pretty self-explanatory. Essentially, from self-service fast food restaurant kiosks to smartphone delivery apps, there are more opportunities to tip for a wider range of services than ever before, but between the high cost of living and uncertain economy, cash-strapped consumers are starting to tip less and resent tipping prompts even more. Fewer consumers now say they always tip when dining out compared with last year, according to a new report by Bankrate, or for other services such as ride shares, haircuts, food delivery, housekeeping, and home repairs. Here's a quote. Inflation and general economic unease seem to be making Americans stingier with their tipping habits, yet we're confronted with more invitations to tip than ever. So I don't think it's actually stinginess. I think it's just that you're being asked to tip constantly. It's like anytime I go anywhere, it's always like those square iPads. They flip it around and it's like 15%, 20%.
Yeah,
I'm like, you handed me a bottle of water.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing I think is I have been noticing, and usually I'm the guy to like defend employees, and because like I get it, it fucking sucks.
I like to punch them.
Yeah, me too. Now, because employees have been like really kind of dry and rude and standoffish a while. And it's like, we've all been there. It sucks. I get it, but like, do your job. This is another thing. It runs both ways. Like, it pisses me off when the customers are rude to the employee, because it's like, dude, that's a human being. Yeah. But when the employee is rude to the customer, dude, that's a human being. You know, so again, it runs both ways. Yeah. And I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, you can just tell. There's a Chipotle I go to every once in a while, and they're always just like straight up like bitches. They're assholes there. Yeah. And I got it. I don't like them, and I won't tip them because they're assholes. Yeah. And there was a TikTok Emily showed me the other day where it was stupid. It was like first person. She's obviously supposed to be an employee. She hands someone a bag. She's like, "Yeah, have a nice day." And then she like walks into the back room and screams. Because it's like, working is so...
Yeah,
like,
I think I've seen that girl. Got like kind of the rosy red nose.
Yeah. Kind of cute. All have that now. Yeah. It's like, just fucking get it over with. Yeah, blows. Yeah. We've all done it. Just do your fucking job. You're not special, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know Emmett's worked in customer service. I worked as a server for a few years. It's like, when you're dependent on tips, obviously, you want to make money. It's tough. It's rough out there. And, if you do a good job, hopefully you get, tipped appropriately. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes people are shithead customers. Which sucks. Yeah. But that being said, with these type of situations for very small interactions, I'm not talking sitting at a restaurant where they come and they're taking care of you and bringing your orders back and forth and you're having a bunch of interactions. We're talking like real quick one-offs. Yeah. I don't think I need to tip you for every little thing. Right. It's like maybe if we had a real good interaction, if you really went above and beyond, for sure. But like I said, if I'm buying a water, if I'm buying a candy bar, it's like I don't think I need to tip you for that. Yeah. It's like you're not coming refilling my drinks. There's one restaurant I go to that I actually really love. Mi Pueblo is what it's called. And there's a few different locations around the valley, and girls there are super sweet. Like I always really like going there. The food's always really good, and I usually will tip. I go up there because they are like a smaller business. I'll go up and like they don't really do anything. That someone runs the food out and that's it. They don't come by and like give you refills, nothing like that. But always it's like, boom, they ask for a tip when you place the order. Yeah. And I'll do it just because I don't want them to close. Yeah. It's like a small enough place, and the girls there are like very friendly, and the dudes back there, it's like it seems like they've been there forever. So I'm like, all right, I'll make an exception. Yeah. But other places, especially fast food places, I'm like, nah, dude.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah. And usually as a rule of thumb, I do like the middle one, because there's a low one, there's a middle one, there's a high one. Mm-hmm. I'll always do like the middle option for the tip if there is, or I'll calculate it myself.
Depends where it is.
Yeah, but it's like, you're going to treat me like I'm an annoyance, then like, I'm not going to fucking tip you, of course not. Yeah. And Emily was telling me last night, when she went out with her dad for Father's Day, they went to this place called Cinnaholic at Tempe Marketplace, and it's like a Cinnabon. And,
it's like Churroholic.
Yeah, exactly. And she put it very interestingly. She said there were like 3 really young girls there, probably in high school, that looked like they were all friends, and they decided to get the job together so they could hang out. And she was like, Emily was trying to place her order to the girl, and the girl behind her was like literally like playing with her hair and like trying to annoy her like during the order, and the girl was like, stop it. Yeah. And then she said they didn't know how to do their job, and like the girl back there was like playfully asking questions about like, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. And I was like, that's like really uncomfortable to the customers. Yeah. And like, if you're gonna be that rude,
unprofessional,
like, and again, I've traditionally always been the guy to be like, pro employee, and like, man, the customers blow. And there's a lot of customers that will like make you enraged of how rude they are to you. Yeah. But again, it works both ways. You got to be respectful on both ends. And if you're going to be disrespectful or treat me like I'm annoying as an employee, then fuck you. I'm not going to tip you.
Yeah, if I get really good service, I will tip you. But so many times, I don't know if it's the culture we have here. And I think also part of it is just because we're dudes too. Yeah. Sometimes, you'll get service that are like really, really blatantly rude. Yeah. And when it's that case, it's like, I'm not going to tip them. But if I have someone who, even if they do the bare minimum, they make the effort, they're in a time, get my food in a timely manner, they're checking in on me once in a while, even just casually, I'll tip you fairly. I'll tip you 20%, absolutely. But other times, if they're kind of dialing it in, or it's like if they forget stuff, it's like, But I try to be a fair tipper because I've definitely been in their shoes before. Right. Yeah. But also, it's like I did a good job too. A lot of people don't. What else was I going to say? I was totally losing my train of thought. I lost it. Forgot.
Oh,
yes. There was something I was going to say. Was there one last thing you want to look at on the gram?
I think that was it. That was the most recent one I found.
Okay, cool. Let me see if there's any others I missed. Boom, 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 boom. No, that was it, man. All right, guys. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah. Before you forget, go down to the ship below and check out our Patreon and sign up, please.
Yes. The more patrons we get, the longer the Patreon podcast will go, and also, like, you'll really help us out and we can get you guys more content more often.
Yeah.
Also, please, 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 if you haven't subscribed to Unfazed Frights down below, not getting much love on there, but you know what's kind of interesting. A few videos on there are doing better than some of the stuff I post on here. I'll post something on there, once every month and a half or something, but it'll get 400, 500 views, and the pod's getting 250 views.
Right. Yeah.
What's going on here, guys? Yeah. But anyway, consider checking out Unfazed Frights below. Tell your friends about the Patreon. Consider joining yourself if you love your boys. Check out Emmett's Star Map commercial. Link below, and check out ZenWave93, my concert channel.
ZenWave.
Love you guys. Like, subscribe, most importantly.
Remain unfazed.
Remain unfazed. Thanks for watching. Go watch The Flash.
Yeah.